Hey there, fellow FUMSers. Did you know you can display your disdain for this stupid disease on a hat, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a phone case, a coffee mug, or several other products? Well, you can. Just head over to the FUMS merchandise shop and wear your FUMS attitude proudly. Go to FUMSnow.com/shop and get your FUMS on today. Welcome to the FUMS Now podcast show, where you'll gain information, inspiration, and motivation for living your best life with multiple sclerosis. Find us online at FUMSnow.com. I'm your host, Cathy Reagan Young. Today's guest is patient advocate, MS community content creator, multi-award winner, speaker, consultant, MS patient, and all-around wonderful, kind, thoughtful human being who founded the MS blog and empoweredspirit.com. Whew. It's Cathy Chester. Well, welcome to the FUMS podcast show, Cathy. Thanks so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I've so been looking forward to doing this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we could finally get this one on the books because we've been talking about doing it for a while now, but stars just weren't aligning in our favor. But anyway, we're here now. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Me too. I'm so grateful. And I'm grateful to you for doing all of these podcasts. It's such a powerful way of, creating awareness and educating people about MS.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. All right. So let's get into it. If you would please just tell everybody your story, whatever you're comfortable sharing about yourself. And if you don't mind sharing your diagnosis story too, please.
Sure. Well, let me introduce myself first of all. Cathy Chester, and I am a certified patient advocate, a content creator in the community. I won several awards for my blog and Empowered Spirit. And I'm a consultant, a patient since 1986. And I'm just really happy to be able to do whatever I can possibly do to spread awareness and empower and inspire people within the community in any way that I can.
That's great. And yeah, tell me about your diagnosis, if you would, please, with this fun
Yeah,
disease.
so it actually started right after I graduated college. I went up to Vermont. My best friend's parents had a house up there, and it was snowing, and I got it up there, and we just wanted to go out. We were crazy and young, and it was really snowing, coming down crazily.
Mm-hmm.
And, Vermont's known for all their covered bridges, and
Yes.
we got to one bridge. We decided to go downtown. And we got to one bridge, and my girlfriend saw nobody was coming, and she started to go in one-way bridge. And out of nowhere, another car started coming right at us. And I have no recollection of this because I was sitting in the back passenger side, and I was knocked out cold. The next thing I know, I was on the stretcher and went to the hospital, and I had a concussion. I had 16 stitches in my head. They call it my scarlet letter. And my feet were numb. So my parents came and picked me up, brought me home, and they insisted I go in the hospital just to get checked. And the doctor, which was our family doctor at the time, said, I said, "Why are my feet numb? My feet are very numb." And he said, "Well, your shoes are too tight." And that was 1981. So I tried to get bigger shoes, but that was not obviously the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to 1986, I was living, I had a really nice apartment on one side of the Lincoln Tunnel. If anyone's familiar with Manhattan in New Jersey, I was living in Weehawken, New Jersey, and it's just the other side of Lincoln Tunnel into Manhattan. So I was working in the city. And on the way home was in my little high heels that everybody had to wear when you were working for big corporations. And I was in the bus terminal, Port Authority, and I was kind of walking like I was drunk or crooked. And I looked down, and I looked in back of me, and my one heel had slipped off my foot, and I hadn't even felt it because my feet were soon so numb, I didn't know. And I thought, okay, there's something going on here. So fast forward, my parents were friends with a neurologist, and I was very lucky that I had a CAT scan and a spinal tap. I think MRIs were in their infancy because I really don't remember having an MRI, but right away I
Mhm.
got diagnosed.
Mm.
So I had
Wow.
no idea what MS was. So I gave
Mhm.
up my job in the city, which I loved,
Aw.
gave up my apartment and moved back in with my parents. And so that was a strange time to
Yeah.
be diagnosed. I call it the dark ages for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. There were no approved, meds for MS at that time, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
1986, there were no medications and there was no internet. You could only receive information through snail mail. So I
Right.
really depended on the National MS Society
Mm.
because they were wonderful in sending me brochures and also taking my calls.
Mhm.
Because I had no idea, our library had nothing on MS.
Mhm.
And basically, my doctor told me to give up my job and go
Wow.
home and just rest and to
Yeah,
call him if I had an exacerbation and they would give me steroids. And that was basically the plan,
that was it.
was just to, yeah, no,
Just
like no
rest.
hope. Yeah,
Oh,
just rest.
jeez.
And I had a boyfriend at the time and that was very tough, as you
Yeah,
can
right.
imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy cow.
So
Were there any in-person, support groups at that time?
there were, and coincidentally, there was a support group in the next town to where my parents lived that needed a support group leader. And
Mm.
I, for some unknown reason, thought I could lead this support group. And
Mm.
I didn't know enough, and I was young and at that age,
Right.
young and naive about it. And so I led that support group, but I felt it just happened that all of the women in the group, it was all women, were there by themselves and they were all in wheelchairs
Mm.
except me. And I would go with my boyfriend. And I don't think that they really could identify with me. I felt that
Right.
there was a lot of frustration at having me be the leader. And I
Mhm.
can understand that.
Yeah.
And so I left and I really never went back to the support groups because I guess I had a bad taste in my mouth. Support groups can be a wonderful experience and
Yeah.
many people really enjoy them, but that was
Yes.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't had good vibes at the couple of, and I've done darn few, I must say, but the in-person ones, I have one that I do, once a month, but I don't know. There's something about those virtual ones now that, of course that technology wasn't available back then, but that,
Right, it's a very different vibe.
it
Right.
is. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can steer it and you can, and there are so many now that you can kind of choose,
Yeah,
who
and
you
feel
vibe
what's
with.
right for
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
beautiful thing.
Mhm.
So then at what point did you decide to start a blog about MS?
Well, it's interesting because my son was in private school and the school was not close to our house. So I had to do the driving. I was a stay-at-home mom.
Mhm.
So I didn't really work in those days. Well, of course I did. I was a wife and a
Yes.
mother,
Yes.
and I
Hardest
would
job in the
drive
world.
him exactly. And I loved it. I loved, being a
Mhm.
stay-at-home mom. So I really didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, I would volunteer when he
Mhm.
was at school I used to volunteer for National MS Society. I used to write articles about MS, so forth, in local papers, but it
Mhm.
just didn't feel like enough. And when he was a junior, I decided before the blog, I decided I wanted to do something in and really health advocacy, but for
Mhm.
MS, really. So I found that the University of Miami had an online certified patient advocacy program, and I signed up. It was a 6-month program. It was very
Mm.
intense, and I learned a lot. And I'm glad that I went.
Oh,
But
okay.
they people really, once I started looking around for work, people really wanted nursing backgrounds,
Mm.
and I can understand that.
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, what am I going to do? What am I
Yeah,
going to do
right.
with this now? So I decided to start a blog. But
Mm.
at the time, I started a blog about women in midlife
Mm. Mhm.
and not knowing anything about the blogging world. This is about 9 years ago.
Mhm.
So I got invited into a group on Facebook who were women over 50 and who are bloggers, and their niches were all different,
Mm. Mhm.
fashion or
Yeah.
my mind's not thinking right now, but reinvention or
Yeah.
illness or whatever it was. And I thought, okay, I have to really specialize in something. What means the most to me? And of course, it was MS.
Mm.
So that's how I started my blog, and
Yeah.
to get out. My mission has always been to do whatever, like I said, empower, inspire, and educate the
Right.
MS community, and that's where
Yeah.
my heart lies. And I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
Well, you're
And it
very
was
good
also a
at it.
stepping up. Thank you. Also a stepping off point to do other
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah. So that was like in 2011, probably. You said 9
something
years ago.
like
Yeah.
that. I think no, I think it was before that. I'm
Oh,
trying to think
okay.
what year he was a junior. My math isn't going right
Don't
now. He's
listen.
27 now, so I don't
Don't
know. But
don't do anything that's going to hurt your head. And math always hurts my head, so don't do
oh
that.
yeah, yeah. That's why I
It
was
was
an
a long
English
time ago.
major.
Yeah. Me too. I was too.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you
That
go.
is literally how I decided on my major. I said, "What has the least amount of math?" They said, "English." I said, "Sign me up." That's me, baby. No math.
Oh,
Anyway, okay.
okay, got
Oh
that.
gosh, you're very impressive. You've got so
Oh.
much. I honestly, and I don't remember when we met. I feel like I've known you forever. It must have been at like an MS conference at some point, right?
Hmm. I was thinking about that, and where did we meet? And then it hit me. I'm reasonably sure that we met at a health conference for Health Union in Philadelphia.
Okay, now that makes sense. Yes,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
multiplesclerosis.net because we both do
right,
work for them. Yep, 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 yep.
right. We're
That makes
contributors,
sense.
so
Yes, we
yeah,
are.
yeah,
Very cool. Well,
yeah.
like I said, I feel like I've known you forever, but I didn't know so much about you. So it was really fun reading your bio. I feel now like I should ask all my friends for their bios because I learned so much more about you that kind of you wouldn't ask just a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I knew that you were an award winner, but holy cow, have you won a lot of awards? That's really impressive. And rightfully so. I mean, you're phenomenal. But just to kind of break it down for everybody listening, your writing has been in the Huffington Post, Everyday Health, Momentum Magazine, The Mighty, just to name a few, mind you. You've been interviewed by Woman's Day Magazine, Harvard Radio, Health.com, and you were featured in a TED Talk type videos for the medical community. By the way, I'll link to those in the show notes for this podcast. Anyway, bottom line, you've been a very busy lady and very impressively done. Everything you've done has been so good.
Oh, thank you.
You've
I,
also been a speaker and a consultant for many pharmaceutical and healthcare companies. So, first of all, I'm super impressed by the number and variety of gigs you've had, and I'm using my air quotes when I say gigs because my husband always hates when I say gigs. I used to be in a band, and those were gigs, and he can't get over me calling anything else gigs. He's
no, I
like,
think
no,
it's
those are
perfectly fine.
right.
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
gig economy. He just has not.
The gig economy.
He hasn't gotten past my band days, but I digress. So I think you know that I'm working on my Patients Getting Paid membership community and courses, and this is exactly the type of thing that I'm talking about in the patient advocacy module. The types of things that you have been involved in over the years. Can you please share how you started finding work in this patient advocacy realm?
Well, I think some of it is luck, honestly. Some of it is, luck and timing.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
Hmm.
And of course, it's your experience. So
Hmm.
that's added to the mix.
Yeah.
So when I was in that group that I've referred to before, midlife women bloggers,
Hmm.
that was an extraordinary group because there were people in there who were, yes, blogging, but they also had other jobs,
Hmm.
and or they knew somebody that had some, and so they were very good at sharing.
Mm.
Is anybody interested in doing this? Is anybody interested in doing that?
Nice.
And one of the first ones that they did was Huffington Post was looking for regular contributors, so we
Mm.
had an open end to post or to submit, and they would always take our things, articles. And so I was a
Nice.
regular contributor there, and it really started from there.
Hmm.
But as far as Huffington Post reaches millions of
Oh,
people,
yes. Huge.
and from there, really do think through my blog, I could see that a lot of the healthcare companies, healthcare websites, and MS related websites would click on my blog and find out who I was, and then they would ask me in turn for services for whatever the
Uh-huh.
initiatives they were working on, and I was so thrilled. But
Yeah.
of course, I have been around a long time, so like Momentum,
Yeah.
MS Society, they know me for a very long time. Those
Right.
kind of
So
things.
they could send you
Um,
things.
Absolutely. Now, the
Yeah.
Mighty, anyone can submit to that. And they have,
Yeah.
for me, they had really good editors that would help, hone my article a little. I think I
Mm-hmm.
have one or two in there. But that really opened up, I used to write for some other websites, but like Mango Health, but they didn't survive.
Mm.
And then again, Harvard Radio, they saw my blog. So it really is
Mm.
a stepping off point. The TED Talk was because I was the official blogger for the consortium of MS centers, which
Oh,
reaches
gotcha.
over 5,000 medical community scientists, researchers,
Mm.
and so forth, and the International Organization of MS Nurses. So I did that for a couple of years. And of course, you meet all the top people,
Right.
and they asked me to do that TED-like talk of that I did, and which was very successful. And they did a
Mm-hmm.
whole series of that. And I think that was really. I think people should check those out on YouTube
I'll have links
because
of those.
they're very powerful.
Very
Great.
cool. Um,
But I mean the whole series too. But yeah, if you
yeah.
look at mine, then thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, so it sounds like networking and hard work and patience is what contributed to a lot
It's a
of
lot of hard
it.
work. It is. You have to stay connected. You have to really network to
Yeah.
try to get the opportunities. And I think that the space is much more crowded now.
Yes.
That's the thing. If you go on Instagram, which I'm on, and I type in hashtag multiple sclerosis,
Right.
there are much, I hate to say this, but I turned 61 this year. There are
Mhm.
much younger people
Yeah.
getting incredible numbers of likes in the MS space. And you
Right.
know what? There's plenty of room
Yeah.
at the end.
No
I'm so
question.
proud of each one of them. But I think
Agreed.
that just might be a little tougher to get the work. But I think
Yeah.
if you have patience and you just keep at it and you keep in touch and you comment and you reach out to companies. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
LinkedIn is a fabulous place. That's how I got my very first job for
Very
writing
cool.
for a website, through LinkedIn. So,
Good.
yeah.
Okay. That's great. That's all great advice. And I agree with you. There's so many more because I started FUMS, I believe it was 2011. So I'm a bit of an OG myself. And oh my gosh, there was not a lot back in the day. And it seems like they've just bloomed and blossomed all around us, which, as you said, I'm proud of every one of them and plenty of room. I also noticed, though, that the big health information companies seem to be paying more attention to the various condition states now. So while it was just sort of, I think there weren't that many people like on the landscape originally, there weren't that many opportunities. And as more has grown, I feel like there's more opportunities now too. So I just want to
Well,
encourage
that's
everybody to
true.
really pay attention to what you're saying there, though. It didn't happen overnight. You networked, you worked hard, and you were patient. You got out there and, you got noticed because you were working hard and you stuck with
Well,
it. So it
but there
doesn't
are
happen
more
overnight.
opportunities.
Yes.
No, there aren't, because when I was diagnosed, they did not want to hear the patient voice.
Right.
I would even ask, do you think I should take yoga? Do you think I should do meditation? No, that doesn't do anything. We're not going to suggest it. Well, that times have changed.
Yes.
And
Hallelujah.
all of a sudden, the patient voice is very important.
Yep.
And so from that, it's almost like companies are just all of a sudden standing up and paying attention, and they want to hear the patient voice. And so they're looking to hire people who are well spoken, experienced, have a lot to say, have a point of view,
Mm-hmm.
and can represent the MS community in a way that brings us, the respect and dignity that we deserve. And I think
Right.
that is growing exponentially, and
I
that's
agree.
that's just. I actually went to one. I was invited to go to Boston to work for one company, and
Mhm.
they let us into the scientific lab where they make the medications, which was extraordinary to
Very
me.
cool.
And when we left the lab, I actually hugged the scientist and said, "Thank you for listening to us.
Yes.
Thank you so much."
Yeah, that's awesome, and really everybody wins, you know? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I went to the HIMSS conference last year, which
Mm,
Health Information Management something, something, something. I don't remember.
yeah,
Anyway, just huge. It was miles worth. It was huge. Anyway, and it was, a lot of computer geeks and they're making lots of apps and whatnot. And I went to lots of booths and they'd show me what they were working on. I remember the very first one, and it had lots of flashy things. And I said, is this for patients with, neurological issues? Why, yes, it is. I go, well, then you need to cut the flashing down because we couldn't handle that. That would A, give me a migraine, and B,
right.
I couldn't deal with that. That's sensory overload for me.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I got an opportunity to get in front of a bunch of those folks that day, and I shared that example, and I just said, you need to start listening to the patients, not only because we deserve to be heard, but we have great experience to offer. And P.S., if we could be in not just at the ground level, but from conception, we could help you develop products that are really, truly needed. And so everybody benefits. It's something that we need, and that means it's something you could sell. So why wouldn't you want to work with us?
That's right. And that's exactly the point. And good for you that you spoke up and you used your voice and that they listened to you. It goes two ways. And I give you a lot of credit for speaking up because they don't understand the sensory overload
No.
and what, like you say, the migraines or the seizures, which I used to get
Right.
seizures.
Oh,
And
did you? Mm.
so that's very, very important. I'm glad you
Yeah.
spoke up. Yay,
Yeah.
you.
Yay me. So I know you mentioned earlier that you went through that 6-month formalized training to become an accredited patient advocate.
Hmm.
And I struggle with what to call myself. There's the WeGo patient leaders. There's patient advocates. I just don't even know. I don't know what to ever call myself. I feel like an advocate because I advocate on behalf of myself and my community. But anyway, I felt weird using that title, honestly, because I know that there are these formalized trainings where you become certified as a healthcare advocate. And it just didn't feel right to me. I always feel a little funky saying that. So I know that you said it was really intense. What sorts of things did you learn in that training? And do you feel like that helped you, I don't know, expand your reach? I mean, do you feel like the companies that have hired you, maybe they chose you over someone else because you have that certification? Do you think that that's important to get that?
You know what? In retrospect, I really don't think it makes a difference.
Oh,
I really
really?
don't.
Okay.
No. I'm glad I did it and
Yeah.
I learned a lot from it. And I don't need, I know I have the books from,
Mm-hmm.
the textbooks. And it was really a cool way of doing the course that we would have to play patient and doctor and do,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
sessions. And it was just really fun. I had a good group of people. But as far as you, like you said, we don't know what to call ourselves.
Yeah.
But I think I don't think that that's true what you said that about not calling yourself any of these things correctly. I think that you come to the table, just like all of us, with a certain experience that's unique to you, and you have something to say. You have experience, knowledge, and you have the experience as a patient and the experience of helping others. And
Wow.
that's the perfect formula to being an advocate.
Mm.
And I think that the times have changed a little bit because of the internet and
Yeah.
because of all the availability of all these jobs that you're finding and that I'm finding.
Mhm.
I think that what we bring to the table is very important. Like I said, I couldn't find any jobs as a professional advocate, working. I really wanted to work with people one on one, helping them,
Yeah.
and they wanted a nurse. But I think
Yeah.
I still, like everybody else, we have our own unique ways of
True.
helping people, our own unique points of view,
Yeah.
and our own unique goals of how we want to go about. helping
Right.
people, because there
Right.
are an innumerable, ways.
There's so
So,
many different ways to say the same thing. I mean,
yes,
there's
yeah,
there's just one Tech Federa, but there's a million different ways to explain it, and there's a million different experiences, and there's a million different voices that should be heard on it
right,
because
right.
and
Our
people
stories matter. Our
yes.
stories matter. Our stories
Yes.
matter. And I hate how I was muted in the beginning. But you know what? Like I always say, there's a silver lining and everything. And the
Mhm.
silver lining was I learned that even though I call myself an outgoing introvert, that I can be very introverted, but I found my voice. And
Mm.
it's become a strong voice. And
Yes.
especially now that I'm older, it's really strong. So I think we
Mhm.
all have that voice that comes out because the bottom line is we go about it in different ways, but we come
Yeah.
together for the same purpose. And that
Right.
purpose is to help each other, especially now with this horrible coronavirus going around,
Right.
that we are leaning on each other. Like Sheryl Sandberg, from Facebook used to say, to lean in. Well, we're leaning on
Yeah.
each other, and
Right.
we are in this together. And so we're trying to help people do just that, as we
Yeah.
always have, and we
Right.
always will.
Right. Well
Yeah.
said, Kathy. That's exactly right. You have accomplished so much, but I know you're nowhere near done. What's next on your patient advocacy horizon?
Well, this is a question I've been really batting around for myself for a while. And I was working with a business coach for a time, and trying to figure out what I
Oh.
was doing. I wanted to do something different
Mhm.
for myself. I don't know. Even though I'm 61, which I keep saying, like, age doesn't matter to me. It's
Mhm.
just that I want to accomplish more.
Yeah.
By the time I reach 70, and I can't even believe I'm saying that number. But
Isn't that
holy
crazy?
moly.
It keeps getting
Yes.
closer, doesn't it?
Yes, very.
And as
uh,
such, it keeps getting younger in my mind.
yeah,
That
I
used to be
know.
really old to me. Now it's quite
I love when
spry
our
and young.
kids say somebody's old. How old are they? Oh,
Oh,
40.
I
Come
know.
on.
Stupid kids.
So I really, and I actually made some calls to people who've done some really successful things,
Mhm.
not just in the MS space, but in the disease and illness
Mhm.
space, just to see what people are doing out there. So I'm really in the middle of working on what is my next
What's
move.
next? Yeah.
I'm still writing, I'm still speaking, I'm still on patient panels. Because of the coronavirus, it got postponed, but I am
Oh,
going to be
yeah.
speaking to a middle school, which I'm really looking forward
Oh,
to.
that's cool.
So I want to grow, and I want to spread my wings more, and I
Yeah.
want to find what that is. So
Yeah.
we shall see. I'll
Okay.
let you know.
Well, we will keep an eye out for that. And so if people want to find you, where do they go?
Okay, so thank you for asking that.
Mhm.
So my blog is anempoweredspirit.com, anempoweredspirit.com of my blog. I mean, I
Mm.
just love writing for because I feel like
Yeah.
I'm doing something positive.
You
On
are,
it's
and
oh,
I love your writing style and I love the pictures and yeah, I love it.
thank you. I just want
Yeah.
to have a conversation.
Yeah. It's great.
On Instagram, I'm at Cathy, Caths as in Sam, IE, Cathy. That's all that was available.
Cute. Cute.
And at Twitter, I'm at Cathy Chess,
Nice.
all one, Cathy CHES.
And she is Cathy with a C, may I point out.
I am
I
Cathy
am
with a
Cathy with a
C.
K, and she's Cathy
That's
with a C.
right.
And all of those clickable links, along with the videos that you were in and everything, will be in the show notes at fumsnow.com/podcast. So anybody listening, don't drive off the road or stop walking. I gotcha. Just go there and find all the show notes. So thank you so much for being here today, Cathy. I really, really appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to figure it out and get on each other's calendars. And thanks so much for sharing all this information about you and your patient advocacy. It's been really interesting and super valuable for everybody. I know that a lot of people got a lot out of this. So thank you
Uh,
for being here.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much. It was been my pleasure to be on with you. I really
Excellent.
respect everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you, sister. And I suspect you know what's coming, right?
Yes, I do.
We here in the FUMS Nation speak to the stupid diseases it deserves, and we tell it FUMS every day. Would you please do us the honor of leading us in our victory chant?
Yes.
Okay, on the count of three. Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
FUMS.
Oh, that was a strong one. I liked it. That one came from the toes. Thank you, Cathy Chester. I appreciate it, and take good care of yourself.
Thank you. Stay well.
I hope you enjoyed hearing that interview with Cathy as much as I enjoyed doing it. She's such a great person. Hey, if you've gotten help and valuable information from this podcast and would like to support it and say thanks, well, now you can. Just go to patreon.com/FUMS. That's patreon.com/FUMS and contribute to support the FUMS podcast. Thanks in advance. Sending a shout out of thanks to my wonderful podcast editor, Steve Woodward of podcastingeditor.com. If you have a podcast or want to start one, Steve's the best in the business. He's running some amazing specials right now to help people dip their toes into the world of podcasting. So head to podcastingeditor.com right now. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you listening to the FUMS podcast show. Be sure to subscribe to it so you won't miss an episode. You can do that right on the website at FUMSnow.com. While you're there, sign up for the free email list so you'll be among the first to know of any new findings in MS research, new therapies and products, as well as any blog posts and podcast episodes I release. Want to chat with others in the FUMS community? Join us on Facebook at FUMS Now. Thanks again, and don't forget to talk to the stupid disease as it deserves. Tell it FUMS every day.